A Kentucky father shared his story after losing his son to a fentanyl overdose. The incident became all too familiar in the Bluegrass State, and officials there now believe this crisis is stemming from another. Mike Tobin has those details.
Alan Reed regularly visits the grave of his son Brandon in Richmond, Kentucky. Brandon played baseball. Father and son fished together. One day, Brandon got a knee injury that required multiple surgeries. He was prescribed OxyContin, an opiate for the pain.
There's a lot of parents could tell this very same story that I'm telling right now. The end result has been catastrophe.
Brandon followed familiar destructive patterns of addiction, but survived until October of 2021. He bought opiates from a woman, and fentanyl was part of the mix. The dealer saved him from his first overdose of the night.
She revived him with Narcan. Then she drove him to get his last dose. And then later on that night, Brandon took his fatal dose at his girlfriend's apartment.
In 2021, Kentucky crossed the grim threshold of more than 2,000 overdose deaths for the calendar year. The director of the Warren County Drug Task Force says 72% of those deaths are from fentanyl. 2 years ago, his task force seized 2,000 fentanyl pills in Kentucky. Last year, that number doubled. This year, the number has already tripled with more than 14,000 pills seized. He blames the unchecked flow of migrants at the southern border.
Along with that is the drug trafficking and the flow of drugs into this country winding up in communities like Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Kentucky's senior senator puts the blame squarely on the president.
This dereliction of duty at the border by the Biden administration is outrageous and unacceptable. And until they get control of the border, this is continually going to rise and create an ongoing catastrophe.
The investigation into the death of Brandon Reed resulted in the indictment of 10 people, 2 directly for selling Brandon the drugs. In Bowling Green, Kentucky, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
New Yorkers have to be at least 21 years old to buy alcohol or cigarettes in the state. But what most don't know, that age rule also applies to anyone trying to buy cans of whipped cream. Yes, indeed. Matt King has more on the new law surprising some folks at the cash register.
Whipped cream, if you're not whipping it yourself, comes in a can. And as of November of last year, to purchase a spray can of whipped cream in the state of New York requires the buyer to show an ID, proving they're 21 or older.
I love this bill.
State Senator Joseph Adabo sponsored this bill after receiving a series of complaints from his constituents.
They were seeing these canisters, like 25 or so, in the street.
Those canisters appeared to originate from within whipped cream bottles.
These teenagers, mostly younger, 13, 14, popping them and sucking out the nitrous oxide for a quick high.
So-called whippets, full of the same laughing gas used by dentists, allow those inhaling them to get high.
Since this bill has become a law earlier this year, we have gotten less complaints, actually no complaints from our constituents.
While Adabo's Senate District 15 may no longer see as many exhausted whippets in the streets, few among the rest of us, who may or may not look 21, seem to remember getting carded for whipped cream in the last year or know of this law's existence.
Never heard of such a thing.
No, I was completely unaware of that.
Did not know that.
We will follow up on this law throughout the year to make sure it's enforced correctly.
Adabo said he wanted more enforcement and would accept tips about stores in the state not asking for ID from customers buying canned whipped cream. Neither Whole Foods, nor Trader Joe's, nor Wegmans, nor Tops Markets responded to emails asking if their cashiers carded New York customers buying cans of whipped cream in time for this story to make air. On the Upper East Side, I'm Matt King, Fox 5 News.
Stay with us. We'll have more after the break.